Good afternoon, everyone. This is episode 10 of The Entertainment Room, and returning to us again is HK Norman and Rhiannon Bevan. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, everybody.
Unfortunately, Jacob is not with us today because he's not feeling well, but we will carry on as usual. So we've got some big news from the Star Wars franchise this week. So, they've just been feeding us a little bit more information. Last week, we found out that Rian Johnson will be directing the next Star Wars film, and the writers of Game of Thrones will be directing writing the trilogy. So whether these are the same projects, we're not sure yet. We know that Knights of Ren have been confirmed for episode 9. Not sure why there was any confirmation needed, because they were in the poster and in the trailer.
They're like, we promise we remember them this time, guys.
Yeah. We kind of forgot about the Knights of Ren. I'm pretty sure that was Kylo Ren actually pummeling them to the ground in the trailer, but,
He does have a history of anger issues.
Yeah, trouble in paradise, I guess, so...
I mean, you guessed that from his granddad.
Yeah. In an interview, J.J. Abrams also talked about the project. He said he's going to be doing things differently this time. He got criticised for episode 7 for just basically copying A New Hope, and he said he's going to take a leaf out of Rian Johnson's book and be a little bit more creative this time round. Which I'm looking forward to, because I think if you get the best bits out of each film, you'll make a really good Star Wars film.
I think there's definitely a healthy medium in there. I feel like J.J. Abrams, he isn't a bad director.
No, he's one of the best of his age.
He just played it far too safe. And I think what they need to do is just kind of ignore, as much as I didn't like The Last Jedi, they just need to ignore the fan base for a bit and just stop trying to do it, because nothing's going to make them happy.
No.
And
talk about not making them happy. They've announced that the Knights of the Old Republic film may be in the works. So these are just rumours at the moment.
These are just rumours, but I'm not too keen on them. I mean, as you know, Rhiannon and I are die-hard fans of Knights of the Old Republic. It's one of the few things we actually have in common. I jest. The thing that we've been craving for so long is a third KOTOR game. With the way that Disney has been handling their source material recently, and if it is true that the Game of Thrones showrunners are going to be writing this, I'm not holding out much hope for this being good, especially if they try and do something that's directly linked to the game, where you're following Revan on their adventures.
The magic about Revan is that that's your Revan.
Exactly.
We've got a canon Revan, but, we've never had them as the protagonist as a canon Revan. They've just kind of been to the side whenever we had a canon Revan. And unless it's the books, of course. But I just don't feel like I could, sit for a whole movie just watching the game.
Watching someone else's Revan.
Exactly. It's just gonna be an inferior version of the game, because it's the game, which is a good story, but just taking out any player input. So.
Exactly. And I think the game itself is too big for them to fit into a 2.5-hour movie at most.
It took me about 40 hours to complete.
Exactly, yeah. So I think what they should aim to do, really, because they've got plenty of source material. It's not just the first game. You've also got the second game, but then again, that's again player choice. But you've also got the books, you've got the comics, you've got an actually surprisingly good MMO to draw from as well. So it's not as if they're lacking in the source material. I just think they'd be playing it too safe if they went with the game, and they'd piss off a lot of people.
I mean, I haven't actually played the games myself, but I've seen all the cinematic trailers that usually come with them, and they're absolutely beautifully done. For a 5-minute trailer, they managed to tell a better story than a lot of the films do. And on the trailers, not actually in the game, it's supposed to be kind of telling the backstory.
Yeah, pretty much.
So even then, you could base a film just off one of those trailers, just kind of extend it and give it a bit more flesh.
Yeah.
So along with these rumors, they've said that Bastila Shan, Darth Malak, and Darth Raven are going to be potential characters.
Oh, bloody
Why?
hell. I mean, the only way that they can get around this is if they cast the perfect people for those roles. It's Darth Malak could easily be Tom Hardy. Or
good point,
Revan, probably, I don't know. If you went with a male Revan, Christian Bale.
Is he wearing a mask?
Yeah.
Tom Hardy.
Oh no, but so's Darth Malak. Darth Malak has this big fucking.
He's got
this big jaw. He doesn't have a jaw. It's just this metal thing. No, if we went with a male Reverend Christian Bale or a female Reverend Brie Larson.
Oh, that could work. Yeah, but they're not going to do female Reverend.
They're not going to do female Reverend.
I mean, I watched the interview where these rumours are coming from, because obviously there was the leak that they're working on the script, but a month before that leak, Kathleen Kennedy was asked, are they planning to do anything with KOTOR, and she said that they're really looking into it, and she's going to involve a female writer. Lo and behold, a month later, there's a rumour that they've already written the script and it's a female writer. So I think, judging by how the Kathleen Kennedy interview went, it's definitely just going to be a retelling of the films rather than extending the universe, which is perfect to be extended.
Yeah, and that female writer is later Callow Gridis, who wrote Shutter Island, and she's also worked on Alita Battle Angel recently.
I mean, I don't doubt her abilities as a writer. What I doubt is Disney's ability to do such a masterpiece of a game and universe justice.
Yeah.
But then again, at the same time, part of me thinks it's a small... Because when Disney took the property, they basically lobbed off all of the expanded material, including KOTOR. If this makes KOTOR and the entire Old Republic era a canon part of the Star Wars universe, then part of me thinks it's a small price to pay for salvation.
But let's be real, just do remasters of the games and then give us a third one. That's
exactly,
what we want.
Exactly. I think Disney were really incredibly tone deaf when they got their lawyers to shut down the KOTOR remaster mod. I mean, it's not as if they were making profit of it. They said that you needed a copy of the game to use it, and it's just...
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, with all its flaws, I guess that's kind of like what, you know, gives Bethesda an advantage, because they a lot of the time they can't publicly support the mods that are remastering Oblivion into the Skyrim engine, but they've said you're doing a good job, guys. We're not going to try and shut this down.
Exactly. I mean, things like people just don't want a KOTOR movie. What we want is an Obi-Wan movie.
Yeah.
We've been saying this for so long, and there's been so many rumours about it. It's like, why can't we just have an Obi-Wan movie? I mean, part of me blames Solo because of how badly it did, because that's why they shut down all the other anthology projects. But
yeah, it's the Boba Fett one still in the works.
Oh, but he's overrated as a character. He was literally on screen for he was on screen for like 15 minutes, and then suddenly he's the...
Sorry, I'm just plugging in my headphones.
He's on screen for like 15 minutes, and suddenly he's the best character in the Star Wars universe. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. His armour was cool.
But there are so many other characters with the same armour.
I'm still waiting for the Mandalorian trailer, you know, because they showed...
buzzing for that.
What did they show it at? They showed it at a convention or something.
At Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, that was it. They showed it at Star Wars Celebration. So they've already shown it at one of the events. So they've got a trailer. I'm just really looking forward to seeing it. I want to see whether getting a Disney Plus service will be worth it.
I'm really looking forward to the new series of Star Wars The Clone Wars. I absolutely adored Star Wars The Clone Wars. I think it's probably one of the best Star Wars works out there. Much better than the movie, and much better than the original 2D animated thing they did. And, gosh, I am so looking forward to it.
So, moving on from Star Wars, we're going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes, because they've announced that they're going to do a new verified audience rating, which means that audiences will have to confirm that they bought a ticket by going to introduce some kind of system where you have to prove this. And then, so what you can do as a reader going onto the site is you can, when in the audience rating part, you can click to just see the verified audience reviews rather than the overall ones. What do you guys think about this? Because I think this is very beneficial for Rotten Tomatoes, which for a while has been getting a bad rap because people go on there to rebel against certain films.
Yeah. I definitely think this is a step in the right direction. It makes complete sense after what happened to Captain Marvel. I haven't actually seen it yet, but from all accounts I've seen of people that actually saw it, it's an average Marvel film, not worthy of being absolutely slammed with 0% reviews.
I quite enjoyed it.
I'm not the biggest fan of Rotten Tomatoes anyway. I mean, I was talking to you before about how if reviewers give it, I think it's anything 6 out of 10 or above, and say 10 reviewers do that, they consider that an 100% rating, because it's like, oh, they're all positive reviews, but that's daft. So, but this is definitely a step in the right direction for Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks that, you know, when Gillette did that advert that caused a bit of controversy,
Yeah.
and then you had people buying Gillette razors and then flushing them down the toilet, and then same when Nike signed Colin Kaepernick to be their main spokesperson, people were buying Nike products. Nike, I don't know how to pronounce it. They were buying those products and burning them. I feel like people are going to buy tickets, but they're not actually see the movie just so they can hate on it, because people are that, because it's white men who normally do the sort of stuff, because, you know, they get easily offended at everything. And I think that they have that mental level of cognitive dissonance that this would just carry over into the new Rotten Tomato system.
I mean, at least it narrows it down a little bit for those that aren't petty enough to actually make their way to the cinema to get a ticket.
Plus, these movies are just going to make loads of money now.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, because it's also the other way around, because you get a lot of films that get 100%, like, because people just go on there and they just like rate it upwards. So this tends to happen a lot with like superhero films.
One thing I do wonder, though, is how they're going to do it with films that are straight to Netflix or straight to DVD, because it's, or, you know, if you review it when it's already come out on DVD, because I might review Captain Marvel when I've seen it on DVD. Like, do you have to prove that you have that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, anyone can still write a review. It's just that, like, if people want to... Like,
become a verified audience now.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can prove that you have a Netflix subscription or an Amazon Prime membership, or
they give you like a questionnaire of what happens in the film.
just take a picture of your receipt or something.
Yeah.
I was like, what about people who pirate as well? Oh no, wait, that's illegal.
Yeah, so that sounds interesting. We good to see how that works out. And now we're going to talk about Akira, which is Taika Waititi's new film.
Taika Waititi's yes.
So this is an adaptation of an anime, so hasn't worked out very well in the past. To be honest, I watched Ghost in the Shell the other day and I don't think it was awful.
Have you seen any other Ghost in the Shell material?
No.
That would be why you didn't think it was that bad.
I was going to watch the American adaptation and then watch the manga, not the anime. But yeah. And to be fair, it's not just the American adaptations, because the Japanese ones are also terrible as well.
Oh yeah, the Full Metal Alchemist movie was rubbish.
I haven't seen it because I watched the trailer and I was like, yeah, that's enough.
Have they done one on Attack on Titan yet? I think
they did because it was awful as well. I think the problem is that the wrong people are doing the wrong adaptations. It should have been Japan doing the Death Note adaptation. It should have been America doing the Full Metal Alchemist because it's set in Europe. It should have been Japan doing the Ghost in the Shell adaptation. So I think they need to have a conversation and just decide who's doing this.
I mean, I really don't like Attack on Titan anyway, but it's just. I mean, Taika Waititi is incredibly talented as a director and a writer. We saw that with Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is undisputedly one of the best Marvel movies out there.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'd love to see him work on Marvel in the future. I think it's because he's not an established director. Well, but he wasn't an established director before Thor Ragnarok, so it could be good.
Yeah.
It would be really bad for his career if it wasn't.
He's definitely a surprising sudden rising star. The 4 series was that, those films that you kind of forced yourself to watch.
It's like the middle child.
Yeah, the middle child.
Yeah.
You just kind of force yourself to watch it just so you can understand what's happening in the future Marvel films, but you didn't particularly like it. So when Thor Ragnarok came out, I was like, not looking forward to this at all. But he completely flipped the board over. He actually made Thor cool, which is.
I mean, I actually enjoyed the first Thor movie because I quite like Kenneth Branagh as a writer.
I don't think the first one was terrible. I think the second one was pretty bad. But Thor Ragnarok really stood out. I mean, it made it memorable.
Really
it made it memorable. It gave it an identity. So And now you have everyone going as 4 to Comic-Con, so especially Fat 4.
Yeah, so congratulations.
Yeah.
So that's coming out in 2021, apparently. And this has been rumoured to go back to 2002, because Akita is kind of like the beloved anime, same like a Ghost in the Shell. It was one of those ones that people kind of aren't looking forward to an adaptation because the anime is so beloved. So it'd be interesting to see if he can do it again and perform another miracle.
I think the day when they make live-action adaptations of the Studio Ghibli movies is the day the world turns to riot.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, like, the anime is, Full Metal Alchemist is probably it's my favourite anime. So you could have made a cracking TV series out of that, a live adaptation TV series, but they just, like, they can't do it. I don't understand what the problem is. And Death Note as well. Death Note could be really good.
I think the issue is that anime is such an art form.
Yeah.
Is that anyone who tries to put an anime into a live action, they're never going to do it justice, because anime it's just such an art form. It can't be replicated in live action.
The closest thing we have to an anime is Keanu Reeves' John Wick. He said before that he would play Cowboy Bebop if they ever adapted it, and I've
that would be amazing.
Let that happen.
Keanu's
please.
an anime character in himself.
Exactly. I mean, he always looks suppressed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's anime, and he's got long hair, so
he's so perfect.
I know.
So, that sounds interesting.
It really does.
Moving on from this, The Long Walk, which is a Stephen King's books are just being, like, pumped out into Hollywood.
It's like
at
the Marvel movies now.
Yeah, they've just got them on this, like, conveyor belt that's going through the system. So that's being adapted now. Have any of you read The Long Walk?
No.
No.
I don't think I've read any Stephen King books, actually. No, wait, I've read it, but that's it.
A lot of them are a hit and miss. You kind of got to, like, find where the pattern starts of the good ones, and then because he usually publishes a really good one, then a really bad one the following year. So yeah, I think this is supposed to be one of the good ones. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced this. It's been directed by Andre Ovredal, who I'm not sure what he's done in the past, but he's supposed to be directing it. I thought the concept sounds interesting. It's set in a dystopian future where every 100 years, teens are forced to walk in a line non-stop until there's only one of them left. Like, they all just pass out and die. Which I thought was a little bit weird, but it's an interesting concept. And it's being written by James Vanderbilt and produced by Bradley Fisher, and they've been trying to get this on screen for a decade. They've been looking for the director for, like, years, so, this could be interesting.
I don't really know much about it, honestly.
Neither do I.
Well, I think we can expect many more Stephen King novels to get adapted. We had was it last year, then Pet Sematary this year.
Yeah.
This is the new superhero movies. Endgame happened when we care about Stephen King.
Yeah, there was one that I announced last week that are doing into an Amazon TV show as well.
Oh my lord.
I mean, staying with Stephen King, because which came out in 2017, I think, and then we found out that there was going to be a sequel. The trailer for the sequel came out a couple of weeks ago, but it just completely swept under the radar for me.
Yeah.
I mean, did any of you guys see that? Did either of you actually see it?
No, I want to read the book first, but the book's huge, so I'm kind of being put off it.
See, I read the book a while ago, and then I saw the because my partner has the original TV series, so he watched that, and then we rented it part 1 on iTunes and watched that. Even if you haven't read the book, I still think it is worth watching, because they don't put all of the book into the TV series or the movies, so you can still follow on and still understand what's going on.
Yeah. Well, Stephen King said he really likes it. And he's been quite vocal over whether he likes the adaptation of his books in the past. Like, he absolutely despises The Shining, which I agree with. I hate The Shining as well.
I love The Shining.
That's a hot take.
Have you read the book, though?
I have read the book. But I take the approach with the book as I do with the Harry Potter movies. I treat them as separate entities.
Yeah. That's what...
As an adaptation of the book, I agree, it's not that good, but as its own self-contained entity as a movie, I think it's probably one of the best pieces of cinema that's out there. But I suppose that's because I'm a bit biased because Stanley Kubrick is my favourite director.
Yeah, see...
Yes, Stanley Kubrick's my favourite director, and Jack Nicholson is one of my favourite actors.
You know, because I just struggled to enjoy it because the one thing that made the book so great was this slow build up, because you're in the mind of Jack a lot of the time. You kind of switch between him and his son, and like you've got this slow build up where he slowly succumbs to his alcoholism and like madness, and it's this like gradual build. Whereas in the film, like Jack Nicholson's mad on the journey up there. He's already gone. His family are surprised when he starts murdering them all.
I mean, but then again, that's just Jack Nicholson in a nutshell. You can't tell a man like that to act like he isn't mad for a few minutes.
Like during the job interview where the guy's like trying to check him out, see whether he's like, you know, mentally stable enough to have this job. You know, you'd think he'd be like, I'm not sending this nutter up there.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, so moving on from that, we've also got The Nightingale. I think this might have been released recently, or it's coming out. I'm not sure when. But it's been directed by Jennifer Kent, who did The Babadook in 2014. Have any of you watched The Babadook?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's really worth a watch, Rhiannon. It's probably one of the best modern horrors that's come out recently.
It's a little cheesy in some places,
yeah.
I find. But no, I quite enjoyed it. I mean, Australian cinema's a bit of a hit and miss at the best of times, but no, I quite enjoyed it.
No, I heard good things about it, so.
And he's a gay icon as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's that's really worth a watch. And this sounds really interesting because it's supposed to be a horror, but as I was reading the the summary of it, I thought this doesn't sound like a horror. So I'm really interested to see what she does with it. It's set during the colonisation of Australia in 1825. And it follows the main character, who's an Irish convict, and she's just finished a 7-year sentence. But her master isn't letting her go. He's like, and she's struggling to escape from him, and he abuses her and stuff. And he's played by Sam Claflin, who usually plays a really nice guy.
Yeah.
So
oh wow,
it's gonna be interesting to see him play evil.
Gosh,
that sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah. So she's played by Aisling Franch. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this again. Aisling Franciosi. And
can I see the? No,
yeah,
I
sure.
might be able to pronounce it. Where?
It's right there.
Right there. Aisling Franciosi.
Yeah, that's leave that one for now. So yeah, she plays her, and basically he's refusing to leave her, and then her husband gets involved trying to protect her, and then something else happens, and she decides to go after him and get revenge. So this master, I think he's called Lieutenant Hawk or something like that. He decides to travel north, and then she follows him, and she hires an Aboriginal tracker to help her out. It's basically about their relationship and stuff, because they start off like despising each other, and then they've just got to go on this journey to go and like hunt down this guy. But like as they travel, they're traveling through the lands during the Black War, between the Aboriginals and the colonizers, and I just thought that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
because colonialism is a delicate issue at the best of times, but it's mostly focusing on what happened in North America. I don't think that colonialism in Australia really gets as much attention as it should.
Yeah, because it's the exact same thing in in Australia that happened in America. The colonizers kind of wrecked the land and like forced out the Aboriginals. So yeah, I think it's great that it's been touched upon. So yeah, I've just looked at my notes now, and that is coming out the 2nd of August in America, but there's no UK release date yet. Just typical really for UK cinema. But yeah, that sounded really interesting, and especially because The Babadook was so good, and she hasn't done anything since. Like, hopefully she's been working on this a long time. So now we're gonna move on to Edgar Wright's new film that's going into production. So Edgar Wright was in the spotlight quite a bit because he did Baby Driver, which got a lot of like.
I love that film.
Yeah,
I
haven't seen it yet either. Yeah.
Oh, it's such a treat of a film. It really shows that. I mean, after the Cornetto trilogy, like he's a brilliant director with that, but it really allowed him to do something that wasn't comedy, and he's a brilliant director, one of the best we have, and I have complete faith in this film.
Yes, so this film coming out is called Last Night in Soho. I'm not sure what it's about, but it's supposed to be a psychological thriller, and it's and he's working with Chung Hoon Chung, who's a cinematographer, and he worked with Park Chan-wook, who is a brilliant director. He did The Handmaiden, Old Boy, the old Korean version. There was another one, I can't remember what it's Stoker, that was it. And he's like renowned in cinema for being this awesome cinematographer. And it's supposed to be set in central London, so I think this could be quite interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good to see him. I mean, Edgar Wright movies look great even when it's just him at the helm. So with this cinematographer, I mean, I think it's going to be a brilliant movie. I cannot wait.
No, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And now we're going to go on to games. So, Cyberpunk 2077. We've got more news.
Have we finally had some news on that?
Yeah.
Yay!
We've got more gameplay showing at E3. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, so I can already picture what my character's going to look like.
God.
You've had your character planned for months already.
I've had my character planned since they announced it.
Are you going with female or male V?
Oh, see, that's the thing. I haven't actually. I know what they look like. I just haven't decided the gender yet.
I'm going with female V because I love the voice actor. I think she sounds so cool. But I'm really looking forward to this.
No, I am as well. So everything we see of it looks fantastic. It's just, my worry is that it's been in development for so long that by the time it comes out, I feel like it will feel a bit outdated.
Yeah, and there's also been a lot of controversy over the crunches recently. Rhiannon, So this video game journalist has, he's been doing a lot of research into video game crunches, which is when they, you get this in animation studios as well. It's when they kind of it's not forced, but the animators are kind of expected to do so much overtime. And it's crushing on their mentality and stuff.
Yeah, I believe this one came, I mean, at the moment I'm working on a piece about trying to take note of all the controversies we've had this year, because there's been so many. But the latest one was CD Projekt Red. We thought they'd escape this, but nope. And I believe this came from Kotaku again, as most of them have. And yeah, so crunch time, like Jess pretty much said, not mandatory, but there's a kind of almost threatening atmosphere in game development that we're now finding out about, where it's pretty much, where job security is so bad because most of them are contractors anyway, that it's like, oh, if you don't do it, you just don't turn up to work the next day. So and it seems like that happened with The Witcher 3 as well. And obviously it happened with Rockstar more recently with Red Dead 2. So
BioWare with Anthem?
Yep, with Anthem. So
yeah, it seems like it's just kind of it's just the normalization of the game industry, and it's something that this game journalist is trying really hard to try and bring into light, just so it's not the normal thing that you'd expect going into this.
I mean, what I found shocking is how at first, when Kotaku first started doing these reports, it seemed like we had a few bad eggs. It felt like, oh, it's EA being EA. But it seems like this is more the case of, well, pretty much every AAA developer was doing this. So it can, I mean, obviously we're not saying CD Projekt Red is just a single baddie in this. It just seems like there's this culture in the whole industry that needs to change.
Yeah.
I mean, the way of fear is that the same thing could happen when they announced that they were redoing the Sonic design. Because when they initially announced that they were redesigning Sonic in the movie, they hadn't moved the release date back. So that did raise fears of crunch time on animators, but they have since moved the release date back to early 2020, I think.
Yeah. The most worrying thing about this was the guy that was being interviewed. He said that the production was such a mess that if you were to change the name from Cyberpunk 2077 to Anthem, there wouldn't be a difference, which is kind of worrying for me because Anthem was notorious for being an absolute mess in production. This wasn't actually EA's fault this time. So EA gave BioWare a load of money. What did they have, 7 years to make this game? And they did absolutely nothing for about 6 years. They just sat around. They came with the title and sort of planned it. And then EA came knocking at the door like, where's our game? We gave you all this money. So BioWare shoved the game together in about a year. And apparently that was absolutely crushing for the workers. A lot of the time the workers couldn't even test the game because it wasn't working. They didn't know what they were working on because you had different teams doing different things and they weren't communicating.
And what was really bad is that it was kind of like a domino effect because they had so long and had to do it all last minute. They just took workers from the upcoming, was it Mass Effect Andromeda, Dragon Age 4, and just like, all right, you're going to leave those projects now and just come work on this game that you haven't worked on at all for the past 7 years. So those games got delayed as well. They're now in development hell. Or no, Andromeda was in development hell, and then we got that, and now Dragon Age 4 is still in development hell.
I wish Andromeda was in development hell still.
Maybe that's why it was so bad, because they took all the developers away.
That's exactly why it was so bad. So, yeah, and that was the story of Anthem. Hopefully, it won't be the story of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this still because, HK, what you said earlier about technology moving on, you think it might still look outdated. Apparently, they've said that what they're going to show this year is going to look completely different to what they showed a few years ago. God. Because apparently they've worked on it, like, loads. And they said apparently they've changed a lot. Like, there's been a lot of rumours about them, like, constantly changing their minds and what they want it to be like and stuff. So it's supposedly going to look like an entirely different game now.
Before we move on, if you are concerned about, on the topic of game workers' rights, the rights of video game workers and animators, Rhiannon did do a fantastic piece on this for the magazine Hitbox. I think we can include a link to that on SoundCloud in the description of the thing.
Well, this is on YouTube now because I didn't want to pay for SoundCloud.
Okay, so we'll include it in the YouTube description, the link to the article. Do give it a read. It is very enlightening about the sort of stuff that does go on in the video game industry.
Yeah, also Rhiannon's been doing a lot of work with a video game magazine recently. Yeah.
Plug that.
Video game journalist here, where she talked more about Knights of the Old Republic and stuff, and
I had some opinions on that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna link all that in the description if you want to know more about it.
Fantastic.
Also talking about EA, I'm gonna talk about the Frostbite engine. Have you guys seen this video?
No.
So basically, EA have done a demonstration because, their Frostbite engine is quite notorious. The guys working on Anthem said it's like awful for role-playing. So EA have said they've been working on it, and they've recently released this video where they've shown the new hair physics it's got. Because video games, they look, I'm going to do my weekly appreciation of Devil May Cry 5 here. That looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, you can see the pores on people's skin and stuff, but still the hair, just like they've never been able to animate it like in video games. It always looks really clumped together and stuff.
I remember seeing something about when they were making Skyrim, they wanted to animate hair, and there was an interview with this animator saying, "Oh no, we tried to, but we couldn't because it turns out we had to animate.
Couldn't get it to run with hair physics.
we had to animate every single individual strand of hair."
Yeah. So EA have released this video. It looks kind of creepy, but like it's interesting to see what this will look like because it does look really good. Like because it kind of moves, and they showed it with different colors and stuff. So that'll be interesting because I'm really interested in how animations in video games have progressed. Because recently it was the Last of Us 2 trailer. Because everyone complained about, why are you showing this kiss in the Last of Us 2 trailer? We want to see you fighting zombies. And apparently the reason for that was because this is the very first time they've actually been able to animate a kiss properly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I never noticed this, but like they've never been able to do this before because it usually just likes two birds like pecking at each other.
Anyone who's played the first Mass Effect knows what we're on about.
Or like Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man.
It's like whenever there was a kiss moment in the Star Wars MMO, the screen would just fade to black.
We can't animate this. They've never been able to do it, and apparently The Last of Us 2, that trailer they showed us the first time that's been done properly.
I really hope that they've sorted this out with Frostbite engine, because as a player of Dragon Age Inquisition, I can say the Frostbite engine is the worst for hair and the worst for RPGs, because they had to really take out so many RPG elements, so I hope they fix that. And the hair options, I think you had about 3 versions of ball to pick from and just other 2 like bobs, and it's just, I hope they realise long hair exists. That would be nice.
Justice for people with long hair.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And we've also got a lot of Pokemon news. I didn't really actually know this, but you two are really big Pokemon fans, so tell me a little bit more about it.
I'll let Rhiannon do it, because I didn't know this was an actual thing until Rhiannon told me.
So I think it was about 3 a.m. our time. They did a
ironic,
and they did an announcement, and we don't know any more about Pokemon Sword and Shield just yet. We're getting that announcement on June 7th.
June 5th.
June 5th. It's your birthday, isn't it?
It's my birthday.
So that's when we're going to find out more about the sequels. But this time they announced, I think it's an add-on for Pokemon Go called Pokemon Sleep. And
Pokemon Go Sleep.
Yeah, they've decided that we all look awful and just need more sleep. So this way, it kind of reminds me of those like study apps you can get where it encourages you to leave your phone away. And I think it's pretty much the same concept. Like when you're sleeping, your Pokemon will grow in Pokemon Go. So we had that. I'm just going to quickly see what else we had.
So Pokemon, what's it called? Sword and Shield. That's set in England, and
well, the region is based on England.
Yeah, I'm really excited because we're getting more games that are recognising that we're a country. Because you had the old Forza game that came out like last year. That was set in England. That really excited me.
I mean, I think maybe it's because of Brexit. Before
Pokemon leave, Pokemon remain.
It's like we're finally being recognised as a country because we've broken out of this imperialistic EU superstate. No, I think I don't know, but it's fun. I've been waiting for a Pokemon game that recognises the United Kingdom for a while.
I mean, you realise all the Pokemon are just going to be pigeons, right?
Oh yeah, true.
Pidgeotto is going to be like
pigeons and hedgehogs.
Yeah. So yeah, that sounds great. I'm trying to think of more. Was the Watch Dogs set in England?
I don't know.
Okay, well, this just makes me really excited.
It's like one of the Assassin's Creed games was set in England.
Oh yeah, the one that was set in London. They all taught like Cockney accents.
That was a bad game.
Yeah. Well, I played the first Assassin's Creed. Actually, I think I played 1 to 3. And I just thought it's so boring. Like EA Ubisoft have no idea what fun is. They think going around a whole map collecting feathers is my idea of sitting down after school and having fun.
Yeah,
it's not.
I've never actually played an Assassin's Creed game because for that reason, exactly, it just never really appealed to me. Also,
I was really triggered by the fact that they call it a stealth game and you can't even crouch.
How can that be a stealth game?
Yeah, it's genre. The genre it's in is stealth, and you can't crouch. You can't like avoid people. The idea of stealth is that you kill someone and then they all see you. That's the idea of the stealth in that.
I feel personally attacked. Like that physically hurts me.
Yeah, because I love stealth games. I played Splinter Cell and Dishonored, and Dishonored may be a stealth game depending on how you play it.
GTA in some places is a stealth game.
Yeah, Hitman, depending on how you play it.
Oh, I love Hitman.
To be fair, any stealth game I play does not end up being a stealth game. It ends up being I scream and just run and shoot.
Alien Isolation, you have to play stealth, otherwise you get eaten. So have you got anything on Sword and Shield?
So I just looked into it, and we're getting another app called. These are all apps that they announced, and it's another one is Pokemon Home, and this is essentially going to be like the Pokemon Bank that we had on DS, except you can exchange between. It's kind of like a one-way system where you put your Pokemon from Pokemon Go into the app, and then you can put it onto Sword and Shields when that comes out, or I think you can also put them on Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Oh, so that you can't put them into the old 3DS games.
No, I don't think you can. We don't play 3DS anymore. Get with the times, HK.
I'm probably going to be I was the last person in the world to get a 3DS XL and Pokemon X and Y. And then, because the same year I got that, they announced a Nintendo Switch, and that they won't go to the last Pokemon games they're going to be making with the Sun and Moon set. I was like, ugh. So I can see myself being the last person in the world to get a Nintendo Switch and to get Pokemon Sword and Shield or whatever other games they bring out for the Nintendo Switch, and then they announce the next console and the next games, and I'd be like, why the hell do you do this to me, people?
Okay, and just one final bit of Pokemon news. We had Pokemon Masters, which this is going to be another app, but this is going to be purely focused on combat. So it's going to have all of the Pokemon trainers and gym leaders in the game. and it's just going to focus on, I think, fighting them together as friends. So kind of like not like Pokemon Go, where like you're just catching them. This is going to be purely fighting people.
I mean, you can fight people in Pokemon Go now.
Oh yeah, but this is going to be like just fighting these computer characters.
Yeah, that's what turned me off Pokemon Go, because I was like, why can't I do it? You just got to tap it there, but it's not Pokemon.
I mean, because Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, basically the original Pokemon games and Pokemon Go rolled into one. Like, with the catching element, you just throw a Pokeball, but you can actually battle people.
Yeah. So one last bit of gaming news, because I think we are running a bit short on time. We've got Death Stranding. Another trailer is coming out.
I'm so hyped.
They confuse us the more the trailers they release.
I feel like I'll play the full game and not know what happened at this rate.
So I think we can expect this at E3, because PlayStation isn't turning up this year. The only 3 games that are coming out are Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, and Last of Us 2, which we can all expect to come out on PlayStation 4. So it must be showing at this year's E3, because PlayStation 5 is probably going to come out within the next, about 3-4 years. So they must be showing some kind of gameplay this year. Otherwise, they're just we've run out of time. Apparently there's gonna be a trailer this week, and I was really disappointed, because I found out it's got online elements. I haven't played any of Kojima's other games, so I'm not sure how much online plays into his previous productions. Basically, people are expecting this trailer to show the online functions. The trailer's going to be released May 29th, we think. And basically, Norman Reedus has said it's going to maybe feature some social media stuff as well, which I think is really interesting. But I'm not a fan of online games, and they keep on throwing out this slogan called "Create the Rope." I'm not sure what that means, but
it sounds threatening.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the game is, to be honest.
That's gonna trigger a few people. That's a bit dangerous of them.
Yeah. So it may be released on PlayStation 5, but we can definitely expect it to be on PlayStation 4. What will probably happen is they'll release it on PlayStation 4 close to the PlayStation 5 release date, and then it might bleed on through to that release, like what GTA 5 did, which was a really good idea on Rockstar's parts. They made a ton of money out of that.
When I look at GTA 5 on the PS3, I just can't believe they fit all that content onto the PS3.
Yeah, that's I just honestly, the way they pushed that console. So yeah, we're gonna go on to some TV news, because every week I've been forgetting to talk about Chernobyl, and I finally remembered this week, because this show is so worth a watch. It's currently got the highest rating for a TV show on IMDb, which I think is kind of skeptical, because we haven't even got to the end yet, and people are already like overrating it. But I would say it's definitely up there, because it talks about the Chernobyl incident, which I don't know that much about, because all I knew about Chernobyl was that there was an accident with the nuclear reactor, and now no one can live there. And they had it in Top Gear.
And a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, so this tells the story of what actually happened, and apparently, I've been going through Twitter threads and stuff, and people who actually lived in Chernobyl during the 80s have been talking about how accurate it is. Even someone was watching it, and he said he was trying to pick out things that they'd done wrong, and he thought he'd saw something. So he was like, hold on, it happened on a Saturday while the children going to school, and then he remembered, actually no, Ukraine didn't only recently said that they were only going to do 5-day school days, because before they were going to school over 5 days, so they would have been there on Saturday. And apparently stuff, even the uniforms accurate, some of the utensils in the kitchens. And it's just really worth a watch, because there's so many facts that I did not realise the scale of this incident. It did not only affect Ukraine, it affected Russia.
And Belarus.
And Belarus. And apparently they haven't confirmed this as being related to Chernobyl, but coincidentally cancer rates in Poland spiked after the incident.
I think something about the Chernobyl incident that people seem to neglect is that, it affected Belarus, but the Belarusian government hasn't done anything near the scale of the reconstruction that has been attempted by the Ukrainian government. In fact, I was watching this guy who went to the Belarusian exclusion zone, and he was and he found someone who was still living there. He just refused to leave afterwards. He was still living there with his mum. And he was talking about how the Belarusian government had just outright refused to do anything in the way of reconstruction of the area. They just sort of let it rot, really.
Yeah, so the first 3 episodes were about the incident itself and also the second explosion, which I had no idea almost happened. So basically, after the first steam explosion and like all the devastation it caused, it took them ages to work out that the reactor had in fact exploded, because they thought this was like a small scale kind of thing, and then they realized that the reactor had exploded and this was huge. It took them a further few days to actually evacuate the nearby town and start planning the exclusion zone, but apparently it wasn't apparently it took them ages to work out the actual full scale of what had happened. And they realised that there was potentially going to be a second explosion because the material was going to melt through the concrete and hit the water below, and there'd be a second steam explosion which would take out the other reactors, and that would have wiped out a lot of Europe. Like, we potentially would have had this like huge scale nuclear disaster that would have killed millions.
I had no idea.
Neither did I. Like, honestly, I was so scared watching this. I was like, that almost happened. And if it hadn't been for these 3 guys, they picked 3 guys who worked in the power plants, and they told them, you need to dive under there and drain the water out of this, otherwise half of Europe's going to die. And they were told, like, the radiation in that water that would be diving in, you'd have a week to live if you go and do this. And they went and did it anyway. And I think this program's like so worth watching, just because I had no idea about these heroes, and also the firefighters who helped put out the reactor fire as well. Like, most of them died. In fact, I think all of them died like of radiation poisoning, which is like the worst way to die as well. And I think it's just worth watching because, you know, I didn't know about this.
No. Did you know that with all the radioactive dust that was released spread as far as the Scottish Highlands, and for a good few years they couldn't have livestock up there?
I heard about people, like, even in England, like, putting down cattle and stuff because it become contaminated. It's just mad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's really worth a watch. It's so well put together. It was quite a surprise as well, because looking at the trailer, I thought it was going to be like a horror film. They're going to like take the mick out of it.
Yeah, because that was that movie a couple of years ago that basically did that.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to turn it into a cheap horror flick, but no, it's like you know, really educational, and it's so worth a watch. And the cast do an amazing job as well. So yeah, look that up. You know, all those people that thought they were going to be cancelling their HBO subscriptions after Game of Thrones, not so soon. Like, this is really worth a watch. And also on TV, the Gavin and Stacey is making a return. We're going to have a reunion on Christmas.
To the rejoice of mums everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a big fan of Gavin and Stacey. Harry, who was producing last week, he would have been here today to talk about it, because apparently he's a Gavin and Stacey expert. So we might have him on next week to talk about this.
Well, at least we don't have to talk to family members at Christmas. So.
Yeah. And I'd say that's it for TV. We were going to talk about Love Island, but I think I don't have time to rant about that. I'll be talking about
whole separate episode about that.
The Love Island special.
Yeah. So HK, you had a bit about Designated Survivor?
Yeah. This was a bit of a weird one. It was this show that was set up by ABC a couple of years ago, about this low-level cabinet official in the US. He was Secretary for Housing, and he was taken away to this special place at the President's State of the Union, he was known as the Designated Survivor. And then the entirety of Congress, the Supreme Court, the President and the Vice President and the Cabinet got wiped out. So he was made President, and he had to steward America through its darkest days. I thought it was quite a good series, and then it got just surprisingly cancelled by ABC. And then it spent a few months on the market. Netflix eventually picked it up. So, yeah, if you're a Designated Survivor fan, yeah, Designated Survivor's coming back on Netflix on June the 7th. So that's fun.
Talk about Netflix. Orange is the New Black. The final season is coming out.
Oh.
Yeah. Have you guys fans?
I was a fan, but I stopped liking it around what season? I think it's season 4. I think the one with Ruby Rose in it. I just thought, oh God, this is getting a bit awful now. Funny enough,
what's wrong with Ruby Rose?
There's nothing wrong with her. She just wasn't good in Orange is the New Black. She couldn't act. She can't act.
No, well, luckily she's not. She's only it for that season, then she leaves. So,
oh God.
But yeah, it was definitely worth a watch.
I really liked the last season. I have to say, that got me back into it.
Yeah, because I was skeptical about watching it because I kind of like my dark TV shows like Ozark and, and like Altered Carbon and stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to watch Orange Is the New Black. But then I started it, I was like, this is generally quite funny, and it's also like it was surprisingly upsetting as well.
Oh yeah,
so it touches on a lot of subjects. Like at the moment, it's talking about immigration in America because I'm not going to spoil it, but they include the camps that they've been sending a lot of the immigrants to. And that's going to be touched upon more in the final season. It talks about issues in prison such as like low budgets and stuff like that. And
private prisons. That's when I started getting into it.
That was
again.
it. Yeah, private prisons and just like what they can get away with as well, which is like disgusting a lot of the time.
If you like your dark TV shows, you should watch Fargo.
Oh yeah, I have seen Fargo. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, unpopular opinion, but I prefer it to the film.
Yep, absolutely.
I agree. I love Fargo as a film. It's one of my favourite films. But
Fargo is one of my favourite films.
The TV show is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I especially loved the last season. Ewan McGregor does a fantastic job.
Yeah, I thought the first season was good as well with Martin Freeman as well.
Martin Freeman, and the second season, people say it's the best, but I liked it, but I didn't think it was brilliant.
Yeah,
but oh well.
Is there any news of a season 4? Because
they're setting it in. It's either being set in Louisiana or Missouri, and it's got Eddie Murphy as the lead.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
Which is a far way. I mean, the southern USA is it's a long way away from Fargo, North Dakota. So that'll be interesting. But
yeah. Well, the second season wasn't even set in Fargo.
It was set in North Dakota.
Oh, was it?
Mm.
Oh, I thought it just wasn't set in the town, the place. Yeah.
No, because the first season was set in Bemidji, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Which is about 70 odd miles away from Fargo. So
yeah. See, my American geography is not that good. I thought snowy, not snowy.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's also worth a watch. So I think I'm going to wrap up this episode of the Entertainment Room this week. So it was our 10th anniversary, a good one as well. We had lots of news. Hopefully next week we'll have some news on Death Stranding and what on earth has been revealed this time.
We can try and unpack the trailer bit by bit.
Or maybe just decide to burn the entire suitcase instead.
See, I heard an interesting theory, which has been my favourite so far, because we don't even know what this is about. People have just been making theories of what it's about, and this one's been my favourite in that they're in purgatory. Which I thought was really interesting because you got quite a lot of fantasy elements and stuff. But then again, this is Hideo Kojima.
Who knows what's going through that man's head?
Yeah. So that will be interesting. And also, I've heard rumours that we're going to get a Last of Us 2 trailer as well, but I don't think that's true. I think they'll probably wait until E3 for that, but we'll see. Yeah, when is E3? Is it mid-June?
It's mid-June, yeah. So it's not far away, and it has been a long time since the last of Us trailer, so I think it would make sense that we get one at E3.
I was thinking of live blogging it for the website.
Yeah, that would be good. Oh, talking about which, we've the Entertainment Room now has a Twitter account. So look up that. I think I forgot to post last week's video on there, so I'll do that as I'm uploading this. But okay. So check that out. Also going to be linking Rhiannon and HK's blogs, and also Rhiannon's work on her video game magazine.
I'm brilliant, I know.
Yeah. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week.